In a world where love, loyalty, and betrayal collide with unimaginable twists and turns, one woman's quiet perseverance shatters the chains of heartbreak. Meet Amelia Cole, a devoted wife who believes she has the perfect marriage until her millionaire husband, Henry Cole, and his cunning mistress, Nicole Barrow, launch a cruel game to destroy her spirit. Little do they know that beneath Amelia's gentle, unassuming nature lies a brilliant mind poised to turn the tables. Brace yourself for a riveting tale of treachery, manipulation, and ultimate redemption. This is the story of how one wife went from forsaken to triumphant and claimed her lasting victory. Amelia Cole woke up to the soft hush of early morning in the sweeping penthouse on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. From the floor-to-ceiling windows, she could see a silent city just beginning to stir. Amelia had lived in New York City all her life, but this was a world she never imagined she would enter until she married Henry Cole, a millionaire entrepreneur whose public persona dripped with glamour. Their home boasted crystal chandeliers, marble floors, and a private rooftop garden that overlooked Central Park. Amelia often asked herself if she deserved this life of luxury. On paper, Amelia had it all: a successful, driven husband and a gorgeous home straight out of Architectural Digest. To friends, she embodied the idea of a perfect socialite, always well-dressed, gracious, and supportive of Henry's relentless career ambitions. She organized charity galas like the annual Street Jude fundraiser attended by Manhattan's elite, including real estate mogul Donald Bren and celebrities who frequently popped in for a champagne toast. Amelia was the gracious hostess, gliding through the crowd in her designer gowns, ensuring everyone felt included and special. But beneath the veneer of high society and seemingly perfect marriage, Amelia harbored an unspoken ache. Over the last year, Henry had grown distant, returning home later and later. He claimed it was just the cost of running a burgeoning real estate and tech conglomerate. Yet Amelia sensed something was changing. He no longer laughed at her jokes, nor did he linger for gentle morning conversations over coffee. Their once vibrant date nights had devolved into hurried dinners at Michelin-starred restaurants like Le Bernardin, with Henry glued to his phone. When they got home, he would disappear into his study, slamming the door behind him. Despite her suspicions, Amelia tried to reason with herself. She confided in her best friend, Morgan Weinstein, a lawyer at a prestigious firm downtown. Morgan insisted that if there was any problem, it was Henry's relentless schedule, not an affair. "He's just overworked," Morgan would say, gently patting Amelia's hand. "High-powered men lead stressful lives. He probably just needs space." Wanting to believe in her husband, Amelia held on to this sliver of hope. They had a shared history dating back to college days at Columbia University. When Henry first asked her out on the steps of Low Library, she'd giggled with delight, scarcely believing the most handsome man on campus was interested in her. In those early years, Henry was thoughtful, earnest, and unwavering in his affection. That man, she believed, was still somewhere beneath the surface. Yet, even in the midst of this uncertainty, Amelia's instincts whispered that her life was on the verge of a seismic shift, one that would shake her to the core. Little did she know, the storm was already gathering, and it had a name: Nicole Barrow. It was a crisp autumn evening when Amelia first crossed paths with Nicole Barrow, though at the time she remained blissfully unaware of the woman's growing importance in her husband's life. The encounter took place at a charity gala for the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Amelia had painstakingly planned every detail, from the tasteful floral centerpieces to the curated guest list that included philanthropists, city officials, and members of high society. Amid the clinking of champagne flutes and low buzz of conversation, Amelia spotted Nicole for the first time. She was a striking redhead, wearing a midnight blue Versace gown that hugged her every curve. Standing next to her was Henry, gesturing animatedly, his gaze locked on this newcomer in a way that made something in Amelia's chest tighten. Yet Henry's face lit up with a feigned innocence when he noticed Amelia approaching. "Amelia, there you are," he called too loudly, as though he needed to reassure the world that everything was perfectly normal. "I'd like you to meet Nicole Barrow. She's the new marketing director at Cole Enterprises." Amelia extended a hand. Nicole's handshake was firm, her polished nails a deep shade of burgundy. "It's a pleasure," Amelia said politely, though something about Nicole's confident smirk unsettled her. The younger woman's eyes flicked over Amelia's designer dress and expensive jewelry, as if appraising them. "Henry speaks so highly of you," Nicole replied, her smile wide, yet cold. "I've heard you do a tremendous job planning these events. The detail is exquisite." "Thank you," Amelia managed, noticing how Nicole's gaze strayed back to Henry almost immediately. The trio fell into polite conversation, with Nicole praising Cole Enterprises and Henry graciously crediting his loyal employees. Amelia listened, carefully storing every subtle glance between them. While it seemed innocent enough, an undercurrent told her something else was brewing. Later that night, as Amelia tucked away leftover programs in a storage room, she overheard hushed voices down the corridor. She recognized Henry's baritone and Nicole's melodic contralto. Curiosity pricked at her, so she listened, heart hammering. "Thank you for the necklace," Nicole was saying. "It's beautiful and discreet," Henry chuckled. "Had to make sure it went with your dress tonight." Suddenly, Amelia felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Her chest constricted in a horrifying realization. Henry had given an expensive piece of jewelry to Nicole, presumably a hush-hush gift. Emotions tangled inside her: anger, hurt, betrayal. She forced herself to remain calm, to not barge in and confront them. The seeds of suspicion had been planted, and as she left the gala, Amelia couldn't shake the sensation that her life's foundation was beginning to crumble. Something inside her whispered that this was only the beginning. For days after the gala, Amelia wrestled with the knowledge she had stumbled upon. She questioned whether to confront Henry directly or gather more information first. Memories of small inconsistencies raced through her mind. The nights Henry said he was stuck in a meeting, the sudden business trips that left no paper trail, the baffling shifts in his demeanor. She wanted a clear head, yet her heart felt shattered. Morgan Weinstein was the first person Amelia confided in. They met at a chic cafe near Morgan's law firm, a place where the city's power brokers often sealed deals over espresso and pastries. Amelia recounted every detail, her voice trembling with vulnerability. "You need to be cautious, Amelia," Morgan advised, leaning forward. "It's just one piece of jewelry, but it's definitely suspicious. If you accuse Henry without proof, he'll spin it back on you. Men like him are experts at deflecting blame. This is your life. Take control. Gather evidence." Morgan's words confirmed Amelia's gut feeling. She needed more than a snippet of overheard conversation to confront Henry. With newfound resolve, Amelia decided to watch carefully. She started by examining Henry's behavior at home, noticing how he'd linger on his phone, how messages would suddenly arrive that he guarded from her sight. Once, she casually glanced at the screen and spotted Nicole at the top of an incoming message. Unable to fight the gnawing doubt, Amelia took a bold step. She asked a tech-savvy friend, Gina Sanchez, to help her. Gina had previously worked in cybersecurity for a government contractor, her name whispered among specialized circles as the person to call when you needed discreet digital sleuthing. Amelia explained her predicament, guilt warring with desperation. She never thought she'd spy on her husband, but Henry's betrayal left her no choice. I can't hack into his accounts, but I can show you how to set up a monitoring system on his devices if he ever syncs them, Gina explained. I'll walk you through the legal ramifications. You need to be sure this is what you want. Amelia's mind spun with moral conflict. She didn't want to invade Henry's privacy, but the alternative was remaining in the dark, uncertain whether her marriage was crumbling. In the end, she decided to move forward, less out of revenge and more out of self-preservation. That evening, while Henry was in the shower, Amelia discreetly installed a small program on his tablet, a device they both occasionally used. Her heart pounded with each click, each line of code. She felt her world tipping on its axis, a swirling mixture of anxiety, shame, and a certain grim determination that sometimes pushes us to cross lines we never dreamed of approaching. Yet for all her stealth, Amelia had no idea just how far-reaching this discovery would be. In the coming days, she would find out truths not only about Henry and Nicole, but also about herself and the hidden reserves of strength that lay dormant in her soul. The first sign that Amelia's covert plan was working came on a rainy Sunday afternoon. Henry claimed he was meeting a potential business partner, but Amelia knew better. She sat in her bedroom, eyes fixed on her laptop, waiting for any synced notifications from Henry's tablet. She felt almost nauseous with anticipation, yet she pressed on, determined to learn the truth. Within an hour, messages started pouring in from Henry's phone to the shared cloud account. As the lines of text appeared, Amelia's breathing quickened. The messages were between Henry and Nicole. Nicole, I miss you. Last night was incredible. When can we do it again? Henry, soon. I promise. Amelia is away next week at her charity event in Chicago. We'll have the whole apartment to ourselves. Amelia's chest constricted. She wanted to scream, to throw her laptop across the room, but she forced herself to keep reading. More messages followed, loaded with innuendo and references to dinners, gifts, and secret rendezvous. Each line was another dagger through her heart, yet it wasn't just the betrayal. Mixed in with their flirtations were references to Henry's businesses and hush-hush projects. He was confiding in Nicole about corporate deals, bragging about how he'd manipulated stock prices. A chill enveloped Amelia as she realized the extent of Henry's duplicity. If any of these messages fell into the wrong hands, Henry could face serious legal repercussions. One particular message from Nicole drew Amelia's attention like a magnet. Nicole, don't forget what we discussed. Once you get the new contract signed under your name without Amelia, our future is set. No more prenup, no more shared ownership drama. Amelia's jaw tightened. Henry was planning to remove her from their joint holdings, circumventing the prenuptial agreement that protected her share of the assets. It was more than an affair. He was methodically orchestrating financial sabotage. Amelia felt tears burning her eyes, but her sorrow was swiftly replaced by something else: resolve. She saved the messages onto a secure USB drive, labeling them as evidence. She took screenshots of anything relating to Henry's deals, forging a digital trail that even he couldn't deny. Each click of the save button was an acknowledgement that her marriage was over in all but name. Yet she refused to be a victim. That night, while Henry slept soundly beside her, his breathing heavy from wine and perhaps from the adrenaline of cheating, Amelia stared at the ceiling, heart pounding with both devastation and determination. Instead of confronting him immediately, she plotted her next moves. She knew she needed a legal strategy, financial safeguards, and, most of all, a plan to turn Henry's arrogance against him. She resolved that she would not fall silently. The man who mocked her fidelity and the woman who was brazen enough to flaunt it would discover that behind Amelia's elegant facade lay a fierce spirit, and that was something neither Henry nor Nicole had ever counted on. Every time Amelia considered confronting Henry, a single thought held her back. He's ruthless enough to destroy me if I show my cards prematurely. Over the next few weeks, she focused on gathering more evidence, confiding solely in Morgan Weinstein and Gina Sanchez. Morgan assisted with the legal intricacies, advising Amelia to remain composed and avoid any outbursts that might jeopardize her position. Gina, in turn, offered discreet tech support and guidance on how to store sensitive data securely. Meanwhile, Henry acted as though everything was perfectly normal. He'd come home late, claiming traffic or last-minute business dinners. He left clues everywhere: lipstick smudges on a shirt collar, a sultry perfume on his jacket, but Amelia feigned ignorance. Instead, she skillfully played her role as the devoted wife, biding her time until she could strike. One afternoon, while Henry was out, Amelia received a surprise phone call from an old acquaintance, Bianca Albright, a journalist at WNYC News. Bianca explained she was working on an expose about potential insider trading within certain elite circles in Manhattan. She'd heard rumors that Cole Enterprises might be involved. Although Bianca didn't suspect Amelia of wrongdoing, she wanted Amelia's perspective on the philanthropic angle of Henry's business empire. With her newfound knowledge of Henry's questionable deals, Amelia felt a flicker of possibility. She didn't want to ruin Henry's life. Paradoxically, she still cared for him in some capacity, or at least for the man he used to be. However, she wasn't going to stand by and watch him tear her world apart. If Henry's empire was built on illicit trades and manipulations, that information might prove crucial should they ever land in court. Playing cautiously, Amelia told Bianca she had no direct knowledge of wrongdoing, but she would keep her ear to the ground. Bianca sensed Amelia's guarded tone and parted ways amicably, leaving the door open for future communication. The conversation lingered in Amelia's mind. Here was someone who could potentially blow Henry's schemes wide open, but Amelia recognized it was still too early. She needed to shore up her finances and safety. She quietly opened her own bank account separate from the joint ones, with Henry transferring small sums that wouldn't raise his suspicion. She also reached out to a real estate agent to value a cozy loft in Soho that Amelia had inherited from her late grandmother. She wanted to be prepared in case she needed a swift escape. Through it all, Henry and Nicole continued their affair as if it were a thrilling game. They met in hotels, sometimes even in Amelia's absence, in the penthouse Amelia called home. The depth of their betrayal ignited a slow, burning anger within her. Yet, she remained outwardly calm, hosting dinner parties, planning charity functions, and sharing social media posts that portrayed a happy marriage. She was determined to strike at the perfect moment, one that would leave Henry and Nicole stunned, forced to confront their own duplicity and cruelty. That moment was coming sooner than they could imagine. Amelia's resolve hardened one night when she returned home earlier than planned from a social function. She pretended to have a headache, leaving the event halfway through, determined to catch Henry and Nicole off guard. What she discovered shook her, not because it was unexpected, but because it confirmed the cruelty of their actions. Stepping into the apartment, she heard music floating from the living room, a slow jazz tune she used to dance to with Henry. Heart pounding, she approached cautiously. Standing near the grand piano were Henry and Nicole, arms wrapped around each other. Champagne flutes rested on the piano's glossy surface, and in the dim light, the intimacy was palpable. "They think I'm a fool," Amelia murmured under her breath, fighting the urge to storm in. She lingered, cloaked by the shadows, and listened. Nicole's voice cut through the notes of the saxophone. "I still can't believe she doesn't suspect anything. Amelia is so naive," Henry sighed contentedly. "She's not exactly naive, but she's too gentle to consider betrayal. She believes we're all good inside." Nicole chuckled, her laughter cold. "Some women just have no backbone." "I almost feel sorry for her." A flash of rage surged through Amelia's veins. Hearing Nicole speak about her like a spineless fool, like a child ignorant of the adult's games, sparked a cold fury she had never known herself capable of. She wanted to march in and confront them right then and there, but Morgan's words echoed in her mind, "Don't tip your hand until you're ready." Softly she backed away, retreating to the corridor. She wrestled with tears, heartbreak, and an overwhelming desire for justice. Eventually, she slipped into the guest bedroom, deciding to spend the night there. When Henry and Nicole finally left the living room, Amelia could hear Nicole's mocking laughter echo down the hallway. Sleep proved elusive. Amelia stared at the ceiling, letting Nicole's cruel words replay in her mind. She wasn't naive, she was preparing to turn their entire world upside down. The time for timidity was over. She recalled the text messages, the stolen finances, the disparagement. She thought of all the charity work she did, all the hours she poured into maintaining a facade for Henry's benefit. Enough was enough. The cruelty of that moment was the last straw. Amelia resolved that she would follow through with every step of her plan. If Nicole believed she was dealing with a timid, spineless wife, then Nicole would soon learn otherwise. A plan was already forming in Amelia's mind, a plan to use Henry's shady deals and Nicole's blind ambition to destroy the very foundation they stood on. They might mock her behind closed doors, but Amelia had learned how to turn a locked door into an escape hatch. The next phase of her life, her liberation, was about to begin. The next morning after Henry left for the office, Amelia dialed Bianca Albright's number. The journalist answered on the second ring. There was a briskness to Bianca's tone, suggesting she was already anticipating Amelia's call. "Bianca, hi. I have some information you might be interested in," Amelia said, voice trembling. "Not just rumors, documents, messages, something that could be significant for that expose you mentioned." Bianca paused, and Amelia could practically hear the journalist's mind whirring. "Amelia, this is a serious step," Bianca warned. "If your husband is involved in insider trading or corporate fraud, it won't be a slap on the wrist. We're talking potential prison time. Are you prepared for that?" Amelia closed her eyes, picturing Henry's mockery and Nicole's sneer. "Yes, I can't live like this anymore, Bianca. I need to protect myself. And if that means exposing Henry's wrongdoing, then I'm ready." They arranged to meet at a discreet location, a quaint bookstore cafe near Washington Square Park, known more for its dusty tomes than its cappuccinos. Amelia wore oversized sunglasses and a simple black coat, hoping not to draw attention. Bianca arrived in a casual denim jacket, her press badge carefully hidden. In a secluded corner, Amelia laid out everything: the text messages, screenshots of questionable financial statements, even the hush-hush real estate transactions Henry boasted about in his private messages with Nicole. Bianca's eyes widened as she leafed through the documents, a quiet determination evident in her expression. "This is huge," Bianca muttered. "I need to corroborate these details, but if even half of this is true, Cole Enterprises is built on a web of deception." Amelia nodded, tears threatening to spill. "I just want to be free, and I want them to know I'm not the spineless wife they believe me to be." Bianca placed a reassuring hand on Amelia's arm. "I understand, but be prepared for a fight. People with power and money don't go down quietly. Henry will throw everything at you once he realizes what you're doing." "I have some legal backing," Amelia said, thinking of Morgan Weinstein's unwavering support. "And I'm preparing my own financial safety net. I need to finalize my plan." They spoke for over an hour, strategizing how to release the information publicly. Bianca needed time to verify the documents, cross-reference them with financial records, and consult with her editorial team. Amelia, meanwhile, would lie low, continuing to play the loyal wife while quietly finalizing her exit strategy. As they parted ways, Amelia felt a strange mixture of fear and relief. She was gambling with Henry's empire, with her own future, and possibly with her very safety. Yet for the first time in a long while, she felt empowered. She had an ally beyond her immediate circle, someone who could bring the truth to light. And though the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, Amelia now sensed a glimmer of hope. She was no longer alone in her quest for justice. Despite the swirling chaos beneath the surface, Amelia maintained her role as the ever-doting wife. She continued organizing charitable events, attending glittering dinners with Henry, and even smiling politely when she found herself in Nicole's presence. It was a painful charade, but necessary if her plan was to succeed. With Morgan Weinstein's help, she quietly set up meetings with a reputable divorce attorney at Thorne & Billings, a high-powered law firm in Midtown. They advised her on how to safeguard her own assets and gather more incriminating evidence of Henry's financial misdeeds. Every day, Amelia felt more like a spy living under the same roof as her target. Meanwhile, Gina Sanchez fine-tuned the digital breadcrumbs that would ensure Henry's entire operation could be linked back to him, making it nearly impossible for him to claim innocence. Gina's computer wizardry helped Amelia access hidden folders in Henry's corporate emails, revealing damning proofs of illicit deals with obscure shell companies in the Cayman Islands. The final piece of the puzzle was timing. Bianca Albright had informed Amelia that the WNYC editorial team was preparing a major investigation for release in about 2 weeks. This gave Amelia a hard deadline. She needed to finalize her escape plan before the story broke. Once Henry realized the investigation pointed to him, he would undoubtedly attempt to cut Amelia off from everything. To maintain appearances, Amelia planned a small dinner party. She invited close business associates, including Richard Langley, a long-time investor in coal enterprises, and his wife, Patricia. The dinner was meant to celebrate Coal Enterprises' upcoming expansion in Silicon Valley. Nicole Barrow, smug in her role as Henry's mistress and marketing director, was also in attendance. Throughout the evening, Nicole flaunted her closeness to Henry, dropping hints about the company's new direction. Amelia played her part with poised grace, ensuring the conversation flowed smoothly. Even as she watched Henry and Nicole exchange conspiratorial smiles, she never broke character. Behind those polite nods and refined laughter, she imagined the moment when Henry and Nicole would realize they'd underestimated her. Let them revel in their arrogance, she thought. They have no idea what's coming. By the end of the night, the trap was set. The documents were in safe hands, the legal support was secured, and the journalistic expose was imminent. Amelia's life had become a ticking time bomb, and Henry remained blissfully unaware of how close he was to losing everything. The only question left was how devastating the explosion would be and whether she could emerge unscathed. As the days leading to the article's publication ticked by, Henry began to sense something amiss, although he couldn't quite put his finger on it. He'd find Amelia lost in thought, her phone clutched in her hand, or catch her giving him strange, unreadable looks. One evening, after returning from a late business meeting, Henry found Amelia seated at the dining table with paperwork spread around her. His brow furrowed in suspicion. "What are you working on?" he asked casually, setting down his briefcase. Amelia looked up and smiled. "Just organizing some documents for the Children's Hospital fundraiser next month. You know how it is, endless details." Henry nodded, though a flicker of doubt passed over his features. I've noticed you've been quite busy lately. Everything okay?" For a moment, Amelia considered telling him the truth, exposing him right then and there. But she inhaled softly, reminding herself that she had a plan, and it wasn't time yet. "Yes, I'm fine," she said sweetly. "Just dedicating myself to charity. It helps keep my mind occupied." Henry studied her carefully, then Much to Amelia's relief, he accepted her explanation with a shrug. Well, don't overdo it. I need you healthy for all these upcoming events. As he retreated to his study, Amelia reflected on the strangeness of their relationship. They slept in the same penthouse, ate at the same dining table, but they were living in entirely different worlds. She no longer saw him as her husband. He was the adversary she would soon face in a final showdown. Henry's suspicions grew sharper when Nicole began complaining about Amelia's uncharacteristic calm. "She's too quiet," Nicole griped during a late-night phone call that Amelia secretly intercepted. "It's like she's not even jealous or suspicious. I don't trust it." Henry laughed it off, but Nicole pressed on. "I'm telling you, Henry, we need to finalize this deal. Once the assets are transferred solely into your name, we can push for a divorce on our terms. I'm tired of hiding." But Henry, drunk on hubris, believed he controlled the narrative. "Amelia is harmless," he insisted. "She's always been docile. This is probably just a phase. We'll get what we want soon enough." When Amelia listened to the recorded conversation, her hands trembled with rage. Yet a part of her was grateful. Their contempt solidified her commitment to her plan. Every taunt, every insult became fuel for her resolve. The final countdown had begun. With each passing day, Henry and Nicole's mockery mounted, blind to the reality that Amelia was meticulously orchestrating their downfall. And when the facade finally shattered, it wouldn't be Amelia left standing in the rubble. It would be Henry and Nicole, forced to face the consequences of their cruelty. On a brisk Monday morning, Amelia woke before dawn. She slipped out of the penthouse quietly, taking care not to rouse Henry, who was still asleep. Her destination was WNYC's headquarters in Lower Manhattan, where Bianca Albright had invited her to witness the final touches on the expos. Outside, the city was just beginning to wake up. Hot dog carts and coffee stands popped up on street corners. Taxis zoomed by, splashing puddles from the previous night's rain. Amelia felt a strange sense of anticipation coursing through her veins, as if she was on the cusp of a new life. At the WNYC building, she was greeted by Bianca's assistant, who escorted her to a bustling newsroom. Journalists hurried about, their desks cluttered with papers and half-empty coffee cups. In a private conference room, Bianca was reviewing the final draft of the expos with her editor, Brian Thompson, a stern-faced man who seemed unimpressed by everything. "Amelia, good timing," Bianca said, motioning her over. "We're set to publish online at noon, and the radio broadcast will follow at 6 p.m. We just need a final confirmation on some details." For the next hour, they combed through the evidence: Henry's emails, text messages, bank statements, and shady corporate filings. Amelia explained key points, clarifying cryptic references. Once finished, Bianca's editor nodded, satisfied. "This is going to be big," Brian muttered. "We'll likely hear from Henry Cole's legal team immediately, but we have enough solid proof to back it up. He might threaten a lawsuit, but he can't bury this story. It's too airtight." As Amelia left the newsroom, an eerie calm settled over her. She knew the report would send shockwaves through Henry's empire. Cole Enterprises' stock would likely plummet, and Henry could face serious legal consequences. She wondered how Nicole would react, whether she'd stand by Henry or flee at the first sign of trouble. Perhaps the mistress who mocked Amelia would get her just deserts. Returning to the penthouse, she found Henry already up, dressed in an expensive tailored suit. He was sipping his coffee and scrolling through his phone. Amelia's heart hammered, but she forced a serene smile. "Busy day ahead?" she asked, feigning normalcy. Henry glanced up, nodding. "Always. I have meetings all morning. We're closing a major deal soon." "Sounds exciting," Amelia said softly. She poured herself a cup of tea, stealing a glance at the clock. It was nearly 9 a.m. In 3 hours, Henry's world would begin to unravel. Yet Henry, absorbed in his illusions of grandeur, had no idea that a storm was about to hit. Amelia wondered if, at the end of it all, he would realize that his gentle, naive wife had been the catalyst for his downfall. At precisely noon, WNYC published the expose. Within minutes, Twitter and other social media platforms were aflame with reactions. Headlines blared across the internet: Coal Enterprises under scrutiny for insider trading and fraudulent transactions. Henry Cole's empire shaken by explosive allegations. Amelia, watching the spectacle from her phone, felt equal parts vindicated and terrified. She knew that once Henry discovered the source of these documents, his fury would be directed at her. But she also knew she wasn't alone anymore. Morgan Weinstein, Gina Sanchez, and Bianca Albright had her back. The fortress of lies Henry built was collapsing, and Amelia was shielded by a carefully prepared defense. A half-hour later, Henry's voice thundered through the penthouse. "Amelia!" he bellowed, the walls seeming to vibrate. She found him pacing the living room, phone in hand. His face was ashen, eyes wild with shock and fury. "Have you seen this?" he snapped, thrusting his phone at her. "Some garbage news piece accusing me of insider trading." Amelia pretended to read the headline, her expression carefully crafted to show surprise. "Oh my God, Henry, this is terrible. What are they saying?" Henry's chest heaved with anger. "They're claiming I used inside information to manipulate the market, among other baseless accusations. I'm on the phone with the legal team, but—" He paused, his eyes narrowing as if trying to read her mind. "I just need you to stay calm. Don't talk to anyone about this. Okay?" Amelia nodded, placing a comforting hand on his arm. She felt a strange sense of detachment, as though she was watching a movie rather than experiencing the moment in real time. "Of course, Henry. I support you." As the afternoon wore on, Henry scrambled to save face. He contacted PR specialists, attorneys, and even tried to reach out to major shareholders. Meanwhile, the stock price of Coal Enterprises tanked. News vans parked outside the corporate headquarters, and reporters hounded employees for comments. Investors began pulling out, and the company's board of directors demanded answers. Then came the phone call from the Securities and Exchange Commission. Henry locked himself in the study to take it. Amelia couldn't hear the full conversation, but she heard enough: the rising pitch of his voice, the frantic apologies, the thinly veiled threats of retribution. By the time Henry emerged, he was drenched in sweat, his tie loosened as though it were choking him. "They're investigating me," he whispered, face pale. "They have evidence, real evidence." He caught Amelia's gaze and stopped short. For a heartbeat, his eyes flickered with something that looked like comprehension, as if he finally sensed her involvement. But he shook it off, turning his attention back to his phone as it buzzed incessantly. Amelia walked away, a tempest of emotions raging inside her. Henry's empire was unraveling at breakneck speed, and soon enough, the blame game would begin. She could only hope she was ready to face it. That evening, Henry summoned Nicole to the penthouse. Amelia watched from the spiral staircase as Nicole stormed through the door, her eyes blazing. Without preamble, Nicole flung a pile of printed articles onto the marble foyer. "Have you seen the damage?" she screeched, glaring at Henry. "My phone's been ringing off the hook with clients and colleagues demanding an explanation." Henry ran a hand through his hair, looking harried. "Calm down, Nicole. I'm handling it." "Handling it?" Nicole spat. "They have emails, Henry. Emails between you and me. You promised me everything would be safe hidden, and now my name is all over these reports. I could lose my career." From the staircase, Amelia suppressed a bitter laugh. "So it's not love, then it's self-preservation," she thought. She made her way down, entering the living room with an air of polite curiosity. "Amelia, Go to your room, Henry barked as soon as he noticed her. We need to talk business. Amelia refused to move. She stood there calmly, arms folded. No, Henry, I think it's time I stayed for this conversation. Nicole's eyes narrowed, confusion flickering across her face. What are you talking about? Amelia took a steadying breath, her gaze unwavering. I'm talking about the lies, the affair, the insider trading, and the fact that you both mocked me as a naive fool. Yet here we are. How does it feel now that the world sees what you really are? Nicole opened her mouth to protest, but Henry cut her off, stepping closer to Amelia. His voice was low, furious. You did this? You leaked those documents? Amelia's heartbeat pounded in her ears, but she refused to waver. I provided them to an investigative journalist. Yes, I won't lie about it anymore. I won't pretend not to see the truth. Nicole gasped. You ruined both of us. I exposed the truth. Amelia corrected her. You ruined yourselves. Henry's face contorted with rage. His hands clenched into fists at his side. Do you realize what you've done? You've destroyed my company, my reputation, your own future. A cold smile curved across Amelia's lips. You were planning to cut me out of everything, remember? Nicole was quite excited about the day you'd leave me with nothing. Nicole stammered. That's not. Oh, please. Amelia shot back, voice quavering with anger and hurt. I heard it all, the nasty remarks, the plans to shift assets, the mocking of my supposed weakness. I gave you both a chance to end this amicably, but you crossed too many lines. Henry looked as if he wanted to lash out, but he held himself back. His voice shook with barely contained fury. You'll pay for this, Amelia. I'll make sure of it. Amelia straightened her spine, meeting his glare head-on. I'm not afraid of you anymore, Henry. If you want a war, then be prepared to lose again. In that charged silence, the truth lay exposed for all to see. The moment of reckoning had arrived, and neither Henry nor Nicole could escape the consequences of their betrayal. Henry's immediate reaction was to call in his lawyers and crisis management team, trying to wrest control of the spiraling situation. He raged through the penthouse, barking orders into his phone, blaming everyone but himself for the unfolding catastrophe. Nicole vanished soon after their confrontation, returning only sporadically to collect personal belongings. The mistress who once paraded her affair now avoided the media's relentless scrutiny. Amelia, meanwhile, quietly prepared to leave. She packed essentials, gathered her evidence files, and moved small increments of money into her private account. The real estate agent handling her grandmother's Soho loft informed her it was ready for immediate occupation. Amelia took it as a sign it was time to break free from the gilded prison of the penthouse. Morgan Weinstein arranged for security to accompany Amelia during her departure, ensuring Henry couldn't physically stop her. On the day Amelia planned to move out, she found Henry in the living room, surrounded by half-empty glasses of whiskey, his hair disheveled. Leaving, he asked bitterly, noting her suitcases. Yes, she replied, her voice steady. I won't live here anymore. I've hired a divorce attorney. You'll be hearing from them. Henry attempted a sneer, but only managed a haunted look. You destroyed everything, you know. This scandal, the SEC investigation, the lost contracts. It's all on you. Amelia felt a twinge of sorrow for the man she once loved, yet she refused to shoulder the blame. No, Henry, you did this to yourself. I gave you my devotion and trust for years. You took it for granted and threw it away. Now you're reaping the consequences. He stared at her, something akin to regret flickering in his eyes. But the anger overshadowed it. Get out, he spat. And don't think you'll walk away with a single penny more than you deserve. Amelia took one last glance around the penthouse, remembering the early days when she believed this place was a symbol of love and success. Then she turned and walked out, accompanied by Morgan's assigned security detail. She didn't look back. She felt the weight lifting from her shoulders the moment the elevator doors closed. Stepping onto the bustling Manhattan sidewalk, she inhaled the crisp air, her heart pounding with a mix of dread and newfound freedom. Yes, there would be a battle in court, and yes, Henry would do everything in his power to come out on top. But Amelia had the evidence, the legal support, and most crucially, the truth on her side. She climbed into the waiting car, her suitcases safely stored in the trunk. With one firm nod to the driver, Amelia Cole left behind the life of a mocked wife, stepping boldly into a future where she would orchestrate her own destiny. Over the next few weeks, legal proceedings began in earnest. On one side was Henry Cole, armed with a team of high-priced corporate attorneys determined to mitigate the fallout of the SEC investigation and salvage what remained of Cole Enterprises. On the other side was Amelia, her legal counsel led by a shrewd divorce attorney from Thorne and Billings, Jennifer Park, working alongside Morgan Weinstein, who provided auxiliary guidance. Henry's attorneys tried everything, claiming Amelia had breached marital loyalty, alleging she illegally accessed proprietary information. But Amelia's counsel countered that she was well within her rights to protect herself financially and provide evidence of potential crimes to authorities. As the divorce case moved forward, a separate legal storm brewed around Henry's alleged insider trading and fraud. Subpoenas flew, depositions were scheduled. Multiple shareholders filed suits against Cole Enterprises, citing mismanagement and deceptive practices. Henry's once glorious empire hung by a thread. Meanwhile, Nicole Barrow found herself under scrutiny for her role in the scandal. It was revealed through the leaked documents that she not only facilitated illicit deals, but also benefited from them. Her marketing position at Cole Enterprises turned out to be a smokescreen for funneling insider information. Publicly, she maintained her innocence, but the evidence painted a damning portrait. The media attention was relentless. Bianca Albright's follow-up reports on WNYC drew in national outlets like CNN and the Wall Street Journal. Paparazzi loitered outside the courthouses, hungry for statements. Amelia, now living in her grandmother's Soho loft, learned to navigate the media frenzy with help from Morgan. She offered only a single statement, emphasizing her desire to see justice served, both financially and legally. Henry, on the other hand, vacillated between denial and defiance. One day he'd proclaim innocence on camera, the next he'd unleash vitriolic tirades against vindictive ex-wives and fake news. The public quickly grew weary of his inconsistent narrative. Cole Enterprises' stock plummeted further, causing multiple board members to resign. Throughout it all, Amelia stayed focused. She attended each court hearing in tailored and understated dresses, radiating a quiet confidence that belied her inner turmoil. In depositions, she remained calm and precise, recounting the manipulations, the affair, and the financial misdeeds. She refused to engage with Henry's attempts to paint her as a gold digger or a scorned woman. With each passing day, it became increasingly clear that Henry and Nicole had cornered themselves. The law was catching up to them. In the courtroom, their smugness evaporated, replaced by desperation. They threw accusations, pointing fingers at each other, at Amelia, even at employees. But the evidence Amelia had provided was a fortress of facts. From her seat in the courtroom, Amelia couldn't help but reflect on the twists of fate. The woman they mocked as weak and naive had led them to the brink of ruin, and though the final judgment had yet to be handed down, she felt a profound sense of closure. She had stood up for herself in the face of betrayal, and she was winning. A month passed, then another. When the divorce was finally settled, Amelia emerged with a fair share of the marital assets, more than she had dared hope for when this ordeal began. Henry's attempts to shield his fortune had been undone by his own illegal activities, leaving him in a precarious position. Once the sect concluded its investigation, Henry faced multiple charges, including insider trading and fraud. Nicole Barrow also faced legal repercussions for her complicity, her days of glamour and arrogance replaced by court appearances and scathing headlines. For Amelia, the final divorce hearing felt surreal. The judge granted her the Soho loft outright and a substantial financial settlement. As she walked out of the courthouse, cameras flashed and reporters shouted her name. She offered a brief statement, "I'm grateful for the court's decision and the support of those who helped me through this ordeal. I believe in accountability, and I hope today's outcome encourages others to speak out when they witness wrongdoing." As Henry was whisked away by his attorneys, he shot Amelia a venomous glare. Nicole, standing off to the side, avoided eye contact entirely. Their once unshakable confidence was gone. Yet Amelia felt no triumph in their downfall, only relief that she was free from their treachery. She had discovered a strength within herself that she never knew existed, a testament to how betrayal can unearth hidden reserves of courage. In the following weeks, Amelia returned to her philanthropic work. She poured her energy into the Children's Hospital fundraiser and used part of her settlement to establish a scholarship fund for underprivileged students, naming it after her late grandmother. She found solace in giving back to the community, forging a new identity no longer tethered to Henry Cole's shadow. One crisp autumn morning, Amelia sat on the balcony of her Soho loft, sipping tea. The skyline stretched before her, a testament to the possibilities that awaited. She gazed at her phone, noticing a text from Morgan Weinstein. "Morgan, proud of you. You did it. Let's celebrate soon." Amelia smiled. A cool breeze rustled her hair, and she closed her eyes, letting the sense of peace wash over her. She had faced betrayal, ridicule, and the threat of losing everything. Yet she had not only survived, she had risen. When she finally set her teacup down and stood, she felt as though the whole city were within her reach. The heartbreak and humiliation Henry and Nicole inflicted had served as the catalyst for Amelia's transformation. They had mocked her for being meek, for clinging to hope. In the end, hope and determination had carried her through, and as she stepped back inside, Amelia reminded herself she was no longer the forsaken wife. She was a woman in control of her destiny, ready to face whatever new chapters life would bring. And so ends this tumultuous tale of betrayal, heartbreak, and ultimate triumph. Amelia Cole, once dismissed as naive and powerless, turned the tables on her cheating husband and his mocking mistress. Armed with determination, a network of supportive allies, and irrefutable evidence, she exposed the sordid truth that brought Henry Cole's empire crumbling down. She refused to be a victim, seizing her independence and securing her rightful place in the world. If Amelia's story of resilience and empowerment moved you, please consider showing your support. Like this video to let us know you enjoyed this dramatic saga. Share it with friends who might find inspiration in Amelia's journey from heartbreak to victory. And subscribe to this channel for more gripping tales of real-life drama and redemption. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the one you underestimate is the one who will have the last laugh.